What's up guys, my name is Zero, and in today's video I want to give you a rundown on the character Ganyu. I've been playing her all week as C0 and she's really fun. She does a lot of damage even as Z0 with 4-star bows and everything. If you can afford her, she's worth it. Is she worth more than Zhao or Hu Tao? I don't know. That's all up to your personal preference on what you want to do. But if you can afford to buy her, then I would, because she is a really good character as a DPS and a support. And without further ado, let's get into the video.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
Alright, first let's go over the roles of Ganyu. Ganyu is a really good main DPS at C0. You don't have to worry about her power being hidden behind constellations or anything, because she's a really good main DPS at C0. I had her at C0 all week. Today is currently Friday when I'm recording this, and I have done a lot of damage with her with level 1 weapons, level 40 weapons, C0, all that. Um, she can also be a really good cryo support for anybody who is pyro. If you want to do some melt comps with pyro, she is a really good cryo applicator. Ganyu is a very free to play friendly character. You can play her in any role in C0 and she will do a really good job. So don't worry if you're not a whale and don't have the money to get her constellations. That's okay, because she will do just fine in any role that you give her. Okay, real quick, I would like to go over her kit and just talk about what she brings to your team if you have her or you want to have her. She's a really good cryo applicator. She has 2 levels to a charge shot. First level is just a regular cryo arrow, does cryo damage. The second charge, it is a regular cryo arrow, but when it hits the ground or it hits an enemy, it does a bloom effect, which is basically like a shotgun, and it does AoE cryo damage. Now this is really good if you're using her as a melt support for cryo application, or if you're using a freeze comp and you just want to freeze multiple enemies at the same time. This will apply to more than one character at the same time. As for her skill, it is it's basically like a taunt. Like if you have Mona or if you play Amber, you know how their skill brings in enemies towards it. It does the same thing. And when you press her skill, she does a backwards dash. So it will help you get out of a lot of danger. If you get too close, or if the enemy gets too close, you can go in, push your skill, and kite back, and you'll be able to hit whoever comes towards your bloom. Now, when you press your skill, it does cryo damage as you're going back, and after a certain amount of time, it does a burst doing AoE cryo damage. So you get 2 instances of cryo application when you do your skill. Okay, now for her burst. Her burst is really like good when it comes to melt and freeze comps, because at first we thought the falling of the icicles, we thought it was random, but turns out they all aim in the general direction of an enemy, and they will hit as long as they don't do a dash out of the way or something like that. But yeah, it is a very good, and it has a really good wide radius of it. And when you get to Ascension level 4, when you're inside the circle, everybody on your team gets cryo damage bonus, and also the ult lasts for 15 seconds and stays on the field for 15 seconds, and the cooldown for it is 15 seconds. So technically, if you have enough energy recharge or can get your ult back, you can almost have 100% uptime on your ult, which is really good considering that if you're using a freeze or melt comp, you just have consistent cryo application over and over and over again. Okay, now we can go over builds. There are a lot of different playstyles for Ganyu as far as comps and what role you want to put her in those comps. First, I will go over freeze comps. Freeze comps are when you have a cryo, which is Ganyu, and a hydro, and you are just consistently freezing the enemy and using that time that they're frozen to attack them and do as much damage as you can. The best set for that type of playstyle is the new cryo set from the Dragon's Mind domain. Like, there is no set better for that role of Ganyu if she's a main DPS than to give her the 4-piece cryo set, because that way you can, if you keep them frozen or at least keep them applied with cryo, you get crit rate, so you can just stack crit damage on your character and you let the 4-piece set take care of the rest. Now for support Ganyu, this is really simple. That you want 2-piece Noblesse and you want 2-piece of the cryo set. The cryo set will give you 15% cryo damage bonus, and the Noblesse will make our ult stronger, which will make the ice shards hit harder. Now we're going to go over the strongest comp for Ganyu, which is in melt comp. Melt comps do 2 times damage if your pyro going into cryo, and if your cryo going into pyro, it does 1.5 times the damage. So either way, you get a multiplier rather than additive damage. Now I want to go over the easiest and most understandable set for Ganyu for her melt comp, which is 4-piece Wanderer's Troupe, because the 2-piece set of Wanderer's Troupe gives her elemental mastery by 80, and the 4-piece increases charge attack damage, which is her aim shot. It increases the damage by 35% if you're a bow or a catalyst user. So this is just, the 4-piece of this is just perfect for her because it's based around everything that she needs to help her do more melt damage. Now a set that not a lot of people would like think about because it's a hydro set is the Heart of Death with it, which is the other set other than cryo that's in the Dragon Spine domain. You don't use it for the 2-piece bonus. Use it 4-piece because after using a elemental skill, it increases normal and charge attack damage by 30% for 15 seconds. That is the only reason why you would even like consider this build, is because if you don't have anything else but you have a good 4-piece set of the hydro set, then you are still like adding to her damage by a lot. 30% is a lot of damage in the grand scheme of things. Another set that is not looked at because not everybody's running a shield composition, but if you're running Diona and let's say Albedo and you're creating a lot of shields, you have a shield on you almost all the time, Retracing Bolide will be really good because the 2-piece set only applies to the character that's wearing the set. So Ganyu will get 35% shield strength to whatever shield is on Ganyu, and the 4-piece set, when you're protected by a shield, your normal and charge damage goes up by 40%. So if you have a shield on you all the time, you have 40% damage added to whatever damage you're doing, which is really crazy. So if you have Zhongli, Diona, or Albedo to make cryo shields, you will be in really good hands if you're using Retracing Bolide. Now the last and probably the easiest set to have on you is a 2-piece of the cryo set and 2-piece of the Gladiator set. Like, as long as you have these 2 sets 2-piece, it is a very solid build. You can use it in pretty much any comp really that you want, but you can use it in melt comp. It is a very balanced and easy set to have on deck if you don't have anything else. Now let's go over the main stats for your Sands, Goblet, and Circlet. Your Sands, if you're running freeze comp, you want attack percent because elemental mastery really does nothing in the freeze comp. But if you're lacking elemental mastery and you're melt Ganyu, then I suggest a elemental mastery Sands. Elemental mastery adds so much damage to your melt comp as long as you're not just stacking so much elemental mastery that you're losing power, which I suggest that you try not to go over 400 or to 450 EM if you can. So you don't have to have that much, but don't go over that because you'll really be losing power as you go higher. For Goblet, of course, you want cryo damage bonus. Even if the substats are crap, you will lose a lot of damage by putting attack percent. Unless the attack percent has godly substats, go with cryo damage even if the substats suck. Last but not least, the Circlet, you want crit rate or crit damage. It's all up to what you're lacking. You just put whatever you need. So if you have a lot of crit damage and you don't have that much crit rate, then you can put a crit rate Circlet on. But if you're running a freeze comp, I strongly suggest that you put crit damage headpiece on, like so, because you're already getting 40% crit rate from your 4-piece set of the Blizzard Strayer. So crit rate wouldn't really be a smart thing to put on your Circlet when you can have crit damage. Alright, now let's go over bows for Ganyu. Now, the most recommended bow for free to play and even low budget spenders is the Prototype Crescent. Prototype Crescent is a really good bow, especially for freeze comps, because you get a buff for hitting weak points, which is moving speed by 10%, and depending on your refinement, it puts up your attack by a certain percent for 10 seconds. And this buff doesn't have a cooldown, so you can, every 8 seconds or so, you can hit a headshot and you'll keep your buff. It is a free bow. You can mine the crystal ore and the white ore, and you'll be able to craft it for yourself if you have a bow prototype from Dvalin or Wolf or Child. So if you're lucky enough to have a bow prototype, but you don't have any other bow for her, then Prototype Crescent is a really good bow to use for her. In fact, is arguably the best DPS bow for Ganyu. Now the next best bow, but it is the next best only in niche situations, because you have to get the full stacks on it for it to keep up with other bows, but it is the Blackcliff Warbow. You get the Blackcliff Warbow from Paimon's shop, which you use in exchange for Stardust, I think. and it is worth it if you don't want to use Prototype Crescent and you want to use Blackcliff Warbow for the crit damage. But again, it increases your attack by a certain percent depending on your refinement every time you defeat an enemy. So this really isn't good against like bosses or anything, because again, you have to defeat an enemy to get the buff. But if you're going up against mobs and stuff like that, then Blackcliff Warbow will really be a really good bow, because you will be able to keep that 3-stack buff. If you're using Ganyu in a melt comp, I really suggest Stringless over anything, just because it gives you elemental mastery and it also gives you elemental skill, elemental burst damage, depending on your refinement by a certain percent, which is really nice. So if you just want a straight DPS freeze comp, then Prototype Crescent and Blackcliff Warbow, they can also work in melt comps, but I suggest Stringless over those two for melt comps, just because of the elemental mastery. Now, if you don't have any of those and you don't want to use Crescent, but you have her as a support, you can use Favonius Warbow. It has energy recharge, so it'll help her keep on ult up, and it'll also generate energy particles for her when she scores a crit. And you can also use Sacrificial Bow. It'll reset her E cooldown if she damages an opponent, and it also has energy recharge, so it's really good to help her keep her ult up. Also, a good free-to-play early game weapon is Sharpshooter's Oath. It increases the damage against weak spots. At Refinement 5, it goes up to 48%, and it also has a crit damage substat. So, like, for a 3-star bow, it will do a good amount of damage in early game. So, I really suggest this if you are just starting out the game and you want a solid bow for Ganyu until you get any of these other 4-star bows. Now, before I go on the 5-star bows, I will say that Refinement 5 versus Refinement 5, Stringless versus Rust, both at 80, I did more damage with Rust when it wasn't a reaction, but Stringless is a lot more damage when it's reaction. So if you have Stringless and Rust, if you are using a freeze comp, you can use Rust. I don't suggest it because it lowers your charge attack damage by 10%, but you can. You won't lose that much damage, especially if you're auto attacking a lot. But if you're going for melt, then use Stringless. Okay, for my pay to win peeps, I know I don't have Harp, but I've asked other people who do have Refinement 5 Harps and Refinement 5 Amos bow, and Amos bow wins by landslide. So if you don't have Amos bow and you don't know if you want to use it over your Harp, wish for Amos bow, bro, because you will lose now so much damage by using Harp over Amos bow. You would do better by having an R1 Amos over I think he said R3 Harp. If you have enough funds to get your Amos to the same refinement as your Harp, you'll see the difference. Before I go to team comps, I want to talk to you about these talents and what you should be worried about leveling. Past 6, I wouldn't even worry about Celestial Shower. The only reason why I touched it because I have a lot of Shadows of the Warrior, so I could afford to level it up to 7. But these two are the only ones that you really want to worry about. This one is just a cryo buff and cryo application basically for you, but these two is where the real damage are. So until you level these up to where you're comfortable with, don't even worry about your old past 6. Just worry about these two, because that's where all your big burst damage is coming from. Last but not least, I want to go over team comps. Some of these team comps I have videos for from when I was using them, but some of them I don't. So If I have some, I'll play a video in the background. But first I want to go over freeze comps. Freeze comps with Ganyu consists of course, Ganyu, which will be the cryo applicator, a hydro, which the hydro can be either Mona, Child, or Jincho. It's all dependent to you. It can even be Barber if you want, which I really don't recommend, but it can be Barber if you want. Um, Mona is the best applicator of Hydro, aside from Barber, because of course all her damage is Hydro. Along with Cryo and Hydro, you would want a either Venti or Sucrose with you so they can swirl the Cryo, so you can A, get cryo resistance bonus to make your Ganyu hit harder, and B, they can keep your enemies frozen for longer as they're swirling the cryo in their ult. And for your fourth, you can either use a second hydro, a second cryo, which I suggest a second cryo because the elemental resonance for cryo, it A gives you 40% less time affected by electro, and B, when the enemies are frozen, they are just affected by cryo, your crit rate goes up by 15%. So it's just a nice additive onto if you're running the Blizzard set, or if you don't have the Blizzard set, you can get that extra 15% crit rate on Ganyu, along with the 20% that she gets from firing a charge shot. Now let's go on to melt comps. For melt comps, you need a Pyro and a Cryo character. Now Ganyu can be either the support or main DPS in the melt comps. Just know that Cryo doesn't get as much of a multiplier as Pyro does in melt comp, but it still does a lot of damage, and it will still multiply your damage rather than add to it. Even in a melt comp, I suggest that you have an Nemo. It would, again, whether it's Venti, Sucrose, or a Nemo MC, you want to be able to swirl Pyro into their ults, because not only do their ults all group, they will be able to apply Pyro to a large group of enemies and put them all together for Ganyu to melt all of them if you are able to swirl Pyro to any of their ults and then just spam charge attacks from Ganyu into the ult. Big tip, if you are using Ganyu as the main DPS in melt comp, you do not want her to use her ult, because her ult will just eat all the Pyro off of the enemies and your charge shot won't do any melt damage. It will just be doing regular damage, so you'll be losing a lot of DPS from Ganyu because of her ult. So just apply Pyro and just don't use your ult until they're inside of Venti Pyro Nail or Sucrose Pyro ult, or just anything, because they will take away, the icicles will take away the Pyro from the enemies that you're trying to melt. Other than Anemo, you want Bennett on her team, just because one, he can apply Pyro really fast and to a single target no matter like what circumstance you're in, and also his ult applies Pyro and it gives you a damage boost, so it's just, Bennett is too good to not use if you're using a melt comp. And for your other Pyro and a melt comp, if Ganyu's main DPS is either Zhangling or Klee, just because they are the only other Pyros who can just apply Pyro at a consistent rate, whether it's with their ult or their skill. So, but Gooba isn't really that reliable, especially if the enemy is mobile. So unless you just don't have Klee, I would suggest Klee over Zhangli. If you're planning on getting constellations for her, If you're not a big spender, C2 or C1 is a perfect stopping point for you. Both give her more energy, but C1 gives her a cryo res on whoever she hits with her bloom or her shot, and C2 gives her extra charge on her E. So either one is a good stopping point for low spenders. C4 gives her a lot more damage, so if you can afford it, then you can stop at C4 as well. But if you are a whale, like a big whale, C6 is it's worth it. It gives her a free charge shot after she uses her E, which basically you have 2 free charge shots. And if you're using a quick swap comp, then this is just perfect for her, because it'll just make using her a lot more easier and a lot more practical in quick swap comps, rather than just sitting there and charging a shot every time you bring her in. To anybody who doesn't know, I stream on Twitch every morning at about 10:30. So if you, oh my gosh, how did I miss both of those? If you have some questions that you want answered, I can help you out if you come to the stream and ask them there. So if you need help with anything, just hit me up on there, and I will leave a link in my description so you can follow me. And just if you have any specific questions, I can answer them on stream, or you can leave them in the comments and I can answer them here. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope I helped somebody out with the information in this video. I just wanted to share as much as I could. I was able to test everything out myself. If you want to know more that I wasn't able to explain in this video, then I suggest that you join the Ganyu Mains Discord. There are a lot of playtesters and stuff like that in this community, and they will be able to help you out more than I will. So again, if you enjoyed this but I wasn't able to help you out with a specific question that you had on Ganyu, check out the Ganyu Mains Discord, and there will be somebody there who was able to help you out. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.